I make outrageous claims on the surface, but they're not outrageous in reality. I had this idea for a video on Carl Jung running interference for Friedrich Nietzsche. Had this a couple days ago. Then I started to get a little discouraged. My page views seem to slip. No one seems to care about my channel. No one seems to care about me or my ideas. Despite my admitting that I'm mortal, I'm no better than anyone else, no worse either. In fact, I am better than quite a number of people in specific ways in regards to thinking, in regards to being honest, in regards to being pure and free, egoless, or the way I put it, for ego, it's like I'm on the moon. In regards to gravity, there's less gravity. So for me, there's quite a bit less ego. A lot of my activities can be explained now very easily through autism, attention deficit, my personal history, and the comorbidities of anxiety is confirmed. And I'm also fairly sure if it's a legit, I'm going to ask my psychologist there, I'm going to ask her if I have avoidant personality disorder. I think I have that also, if it's a legitimate thing. To me, it feels a little bit like agoraphobia. I've always had a nervousness, a nervous failing. I'm a lot less nervous now. I'm a lot more relaxed, but it doesn't, you can't cure, there's no curing autism. There's nothing even to cure. If anyone needs to be cured of anything, it would be the neurotypicals. It would be the system. It would be anyone who is conformist, conditioned, and programmed. Unless conditioning and programmed is the same thing, then that's diction. That's being a blowhard. I would have been a great teacher. Some of my junk is very good here, and you're welcome. Yes, you're welcome. Shouldn't take more than one scoop, one very good scoop, for someone to get credit for being a thinker or for coming up with that thing. I've come up with tons of scoops in like 15 years, 15, 20 years. They didn't even use my name. They barely, I was never even mentioned, and then it was taken over. That story, that stuff I was doing on Kimberlin back in the day, I was effed with. If there could be an investigation into what happened to myself and looking into the relationship with Project Vigilant, Adrian Lamo, someone named Neil Rauhauser, Chet Uber, Ron Breinart, Larissa Alexandrovna, Lee Stranahan, that guy Patarico is shady as F. I could go on with an endless list. I have figured out that there is 100% scripting going on across the board, all those shows. But that's not what I want to get through today in this video. This is part of a special interest. I am now quite confident speaking. I've always been confident thinking and presenting, writing, but now I'm fully confident in all areas to go with the I don't give an F what anyone thinks. I've had that for quite a bit. I had to pause and let my stomach grumble. It is 6:22 a.m., April 10th, 2023. So what I want to quickly mail in is the argument that Carl Jung was an overrated cult leader who ran interference for overrated Friedrich Nietzsche, who stole. Carl Jung basically said it's inconceivable that Nietzsche plagiarized. He basically forgot that he had read this book from back in his day, from back in the day, back in that day. Alan Watts was full of it. I used to love Alan Watts. I found out Krishnamurti was a cocaine user. Now, I'm fairly sure he quit, but it's hard to know when he quit and how much he did. He didn't go around admitting that he partook in the cocaine, but I verified it through observing his face. It's from when he was in that Theosophical Society. the theosophical people based off of Freemasonry and Blavatsky. Well, I'm not going to go into, I don't really care. These people, you see them, they're in our faces to this day. And they're drug users. They flash the symbols. Carl Jung loved to talk up symbols. Friedrich Nietzsche loved to talk up a lot of stuff. I love to talk up stuff too, so I don't want to be a hypocrite. No, I don't share all my shadow. I share part of it, but I'm not going to do a confessional. I'm not going to dwell on my mistakes and all the bad things I've done. I'm saying I'm not better than anyone else. But I'm also saying that my whole life was devoted to figuring out the meaning of life. So I basically have a lot of wisdom within this mortal body, and I try to share it. I basically try to share the inspiration part, inspiration and motivation to others. They take whatever is profound, good, enlightening, waking up ourselves, meaning of life. All of that stuff got stolen and corrupted by the military, theosophy people, the Mormons in Utah. Now they've taken away our freedom of speech for the most part. Even if we're free to speak some things, they're not letting us get page views. They control the traffic on internet. I wanted to break them. I wanted to do to them what they're doing to us. I now realize that that ran its course, and I'm letting that go. I've dropped all anger and hatred toward the junky trash that I exposed. I don't feel guilty for pointing out that they're basically dead people while they're alive, that they have nothing of value to them, that they're really sleazy. But that's not hating them. That's just my opinion based on credentials I got. Like I've said things before right here earlier. And I know that'll get twisted into a lot of people. They'll be thinking, God, that nut job, or whatever you want to think about me. If you're listening here, I'm putting this out to the universe. And so basically to go full circle and to not just keep rambling on, I found this thing which he plagiarized. I also found the two passages side by side. Carl Jung said they were basically word for word. I'll try to track them down. If I can't track them down, if I can't redo my steps to how I found it before, well, anyone else can seek that out if they really care. I'm not the world's teacher. I have no responsibility to this big mess anymore. Nothing on internet, nothing anymore can be trusted, or none of it should be giving any attention either. There are news stories out there. I see them that could be important, but they fizzle out. No one hears about them. Nothing's done about them. So look at Assange. The people who are messing with Assange are all in England. I'm trying to measure my words, but it's all going on in England. I don't want anyone to get into trouble. The only things that are ever worth doing are if people can get away with it. That's the only way to send the message. Only winning changes anything. So my winning tore apart the ecosystem under Jimmy Dore. Maybe Jimmy Dore hasn't really been hurt too much by it. I think there's always going to be a base because they cheat. There's always going to be those hundreds of thousands of a base, or they can even cheat the stats. So the Tim Pool guy never goes away. Joe Rogan never goes away. We know what's going on. So basically, I'm going to wrap this up with the Carl Jung thing. He said it's inconceivable that Nietzsche plagiarized deliberately, consciously. Jung was a cult leader. He was easier to digest, I suppose, than Freud, Mr. Negative, Mr. Pervert. But he was no real better result than Freud, I don't think. I point people towards Eric Fromm if they want to truly learn in the intersection point. before. Intersectionality was a fake word, but the intersection between Buddhism and intellectualism, self-realization. Arthur Schopenhauer was into that stuff. He was into the Buddhism. He was probably maybe he was the first. Alan Watts is a joke, was a joke, a drunk, a pig who can go F himself. Well, he's gone now, so it's over. Whatever Alan Watts was, he's over. Same with Krishnamurti, whatever he really truly was. Edward Snowden, he's still alive, but whatever he attempted is over. He didn't get it done. At some point, the next Snowden has to realize to go for the win. Go for the total dominating win. Nothing can outdo truth. They're putting lipstick on a pig. This internet is lipstick on a pig. So if someone puts the Nietzsche passages side by side, they'll see that this was not someone 20 years later, whatever the dates were. It wasn't someone innocently copying something they read and then forgot that they had read it. No. One can see where people are deliberately paraphrasing and cheating. The reason why I've been at all any good as a public speaker and thinker is because I've always been 100% honest. I would never plagiarize. I would never steal. I was conditioned to understand footnotes, bibliography, critical thinking, research methods. I was involved in figuring out the debate between functionalism and positivism versus the human as the noble savage, as Rousseau put it. So that's what this video is right here. It takes time, I think, to get rid of the anger. If I could fix this, I would have. If I could, I would, but I can't. I don't believe in violence. What they're doing to us is violence against our minds. I'm proud of what I've done to them. I'm proud. I'm proud of all those people who quit. Most people tend to be easily distracted and conditioned, so it becomes pointless. They draw us into the fake life of internet, but now we all have the opportunity to break off. My example is of someone getting drawn into it, talking that 10 years ago, 15 years, pretty much soon enough, 2008, 2009, I was 2010, all that weird stuff. I went into a rut. I couldn't believe it, what was going on, but I survived it. I got better. Things changed for me. It's a better late than never life for me. I recommend that everyone stop going past a rudimentary look at the social media, the news headlines stuff. I suggest people stop with that. Don't have any news channel on in the background all. And the same goes for me. I have to stop being addicted to the visual stimming of observing decayed, demented individuals who sold out. They're informants. So yet again, I'll just wrap this up. So back in the day, I came up with all this stuff on Kimberlin, and then the same people, Larissa Alexandrovna, married to Horton, Stranahan was involved, all these people were involved, Ron Breinart, that skunk, that, I'm trying not to be angry, but he's such a low-life turd, in on it. But there's no journalism, there's nothing to do. There's no way to expose anything. Look again at what happened in the 70s. They went into I think it was in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, I think, and they got the proof of COINTELPRO, yet nothing changed. So I don't know what we're expected to do. What are we going to... I mean, I'd love to get a revolution going in which thousands of people storm the Belmarsh prison. Is that where Assange is? I would love it if tens of thousands of people storm that prison and save Julian Assange. I put up the judge there was a judge. I did a blog when I was still blogging. I made a blog post on the judge who screwed Assange. I think she's a blonde in Britain, in England. Now, of course, there are video cameras everywhere, and everything's a trap. So I'm not saying to do anything. I'm saying don't do anything. I'm saying there's nothing we can do and get away with it. So when I say tens of thousands of us, how is that ever going to happen? How do you get tens of thousands of people to save Julian Assange? Because that's what it would take. It would take an overwhelming group of people. So it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. So I'm reduced to pointing out that Carl Jung was a demented nut job. He came up with some really good insights. I'm not putting those down. And I'm not trying to get anyone to stop thinking about that stuff. I mentioned Eric Fromm. Herbert Marcuse also looked into social psychology and sexuality. Things like the death instinct versus eros, the love principle. I've talked quite a bit, and then this gives me the opportunity to edit. I'm up to over 25 minutes. I just cleared 25 minutes, and then people will be able to see what that actually turned into after I edit out gaps. But I try not to edit out when I'm speaking, or not too much, unless I use that trick I picked up where you just speak monotone. You try to keep a consistency with the voice, and then if you have to pause, then when you edit out those gaps, it seems like it was all continuous speech. Thanks for your time and consideration. Take care. My pseudonym has been Tokyo Shemp. I've had others, but I've been Tokyo Shemp for quite a while now. Before then, I was Prepostericity. Before that, I used to go with the lowercase Socrates when I first started out. I think people should have freedom of speech as long as there's no breaking of laws. If something's R-rated or X-rated, then sure, make it so younger people can't have access to it. But definitely nothing illegal. I don't think curse. I think people should be able to curse and have their freedom to talk up nonsense, which means that others would have the right to talk nonsense or point out nonsense. It's disgusting what YouTube took away that dislike button. One used to be able to email others on YouTube. I actually met my best friend through YouTube back during the troubling times I went through when I got effed with by Project Vigilant, this Ron Breinart, Chet Uber, Adrian Lamo, and Neil Rauhauser. And there are more. Larissa Alexander. I mentioned them earlier, and I could come up with more names if I had to. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Because look at those videos I found on Farron, and look at how all those shows that wouldn't shut up about her just shut up about her. It just ended because I found those videos. Somehow I got 1,400 views on it, but there's no real internet. And if I could metaphorically spit into the face of probably nearly everyone, I would on internet. The websites, name any website, and I will point out that they are idiots who are liars, conditioned, not free. I will point out that Carl Jung was a lunatic, that he was full of it. Huxley was full of it. Alan Watts was full of it. Krishnamurti had a tendency to be full of it. He's kind of a Snowden who just couldn't get the job done by the end. It's like they're just cowards who couldn't name names. Absolute cowards. If Edward Snowden had had the gonads to name names, then maybe he would have made a difference in this world. So that's why I go after those names that pretty much mean nothing. How is one person, myself, gonna change the system, make it a fair, like, there's nothing I can do because even when I do something, it gets co-opted or it gets ignored. So there you have it. I went into other areas, but the main point of this video was the major main point, to go with the other points that I digressed into, is that Nietzsche plagiarized. It was deliberate, and that when someone has ethics like that, everything they ever wrote, everything they ever did is open to question.
This is a story about a girl that I knew. She didn't like my songs, and that made me feel blue. She said a big band is far better than you. She don't rock and roll. She don't like it. She don't do the stroll. Well, she don't do it right. Well, everything's wrong. And my patience was gone when I woke one morning and remembered this song. Oh, kinda catchy. I hoped that she would talk to me now and even allow me to hold her hand and forget that old band. I strolled around to her pad. Her light was off, and that's bad. Her sister said that my girl was gone. But come inside, boy, play me a song. So I said, yeah, here I go. She's kinda cute, don't you know that after a while of seeing her smile, I knew we could make it in style. So now I have got all I need. She and I are in love, we've agreed. She likes this song, and my others too. So now you see my world is because of this tune. What a boon, this tune. Tell you soon we'll be lying in bed, happily wed, and I won't think of that girl or what she said.